word on that one as well. Let's cross now to Brighton and speak to Maria Caulfield, the Conservative MP for Lewis, who resigned in July as a party vice chair over the Chequers agreement. So, Maria, either with no deal or with the Super Canada option, Boris Johnson's plan, which I think you're a fan of too, either of those would lead surely to disruption in ports like yours, Newhaven.
No, absolutely not. I mean, we've done a lot of work and proposals that have been put forward which will show that there will be no need to have blocks or extra checks at the ports. One of the proposals that's being used in Rotterdam at the moment is having border inspection posts 20 kilometres away from their ports. So there are existing mechanisms that other countries are using which will enable our free movement of goods at our ports across the country. And these are proven mechanisms that work.
You're running out of time, aren't you? You need to get this through Parliament. You need to get the EU to agree to it. Meanwhile, as we just heard from the Prime Minister, she's not budging from Chequers, is she?
I don't think we are running out of time because there are preparations for a no-deal scenario, and each week the government is releasing new papers about the plans in those specific areas, whether it's around access to drugs, access to food, movements of goods at our ports. So the preparations are actually very well made down the line. But we won't know what the actual scenario will be till there is a vote in Parliament. It's not looking like Chequers will get through Parliament. It's not looking like Chequers will get through the EU. So more and more increasingly it's looking like a no-deal scenario, which is not something that I personally would like. I'd prefer us to leave with a good deal. Canada Plus is one of those good options that we would urge the government to look at, because while a no deal, there are plans in place which will function well as a country, it's not the best outcome. We prefer a much better deal than no deal on the table.
OK, now it's interesting for you because significant numbers of people in your constituency voted Remain. So how, as their MP, do you justify your position on Brexit?
So we're not having a debate about Brexit. So this is
we
are leaving, and we are leaving in March next year. So less than 200 days away from leaving. So what the debate should be about is what that leave it looks like, whether it is on a no-deal WTO terms, or whether it's a free trade agreement with the EU, or whether it's the Chequers deal. We need to have those discussions in place because having this constant debate about are we leaving, aren't we leaving, can we change our mind, is really ignoring the reality that we are leaving in March next year.
Can I ask you about council cuts? Because as we just heard, the Prime Minister didn't answer the question Helen put to her. I'm hoping you might. Do you think it's Conservative councils that aren't spending their money wisely, or is it that they're being put under too much pressure from a Conservative government making cuts?
Well, I think there's two aspects to that. Let's remind ourselves that we are still paying each year £39 billion in interest rates to our debt, which we were left behind by the last Labour government. And it would be irresponsible to keep spending money we don't have, because any of us who've got a credit card who know that our monthly payments are made up of the interest payment as well as the debt we owe. That's the similar situation the government finds itself in. So it just doesn't have the money to give local authorities or the health service as much as it would like, although we are increasing spending on the NHS by £20 billion a year. But if you look at the local authorities themselves, whether it's West Sussex or East Sussex, what I've called for in my article in the Sussex Express this week is a move to a unitary style authority system. So we move away from the three-tier county, district, towns, and if we did that across the country and created 27 new unitary authorities and did away with these three-tier multiple government structures where constituents don't know who is responsible for their bin collection, for their roads maintenance, for their schools, and just put it under one unitary authority, that would save £2.9 billion a year. And the gap for local authorities for their social care funding is roughly £2.3 billion. So the money is in the system, it's just not necessarily being used as wisely as it would. Now, there is resistance from local councils to this because it would mean a reduction in the number of councillors.
I need to get the thoughts of my guests in the studio on that if we've got time, so I'm sorry, we're going to have to leave it there, but thank you very much for joining us this morning. Dr.